It's been nearly 5 decades since a quirky alien from the planet Orc crash-landed into a young woman's life and changed television forever. Mork Mindy wasn't just a sitcom. It was lightning in a bottle driven by the explosive genius of Robin Williams. But behind the laughter, some cast members faced heartbreaking struggles, while others quietly faded from the spotlight. And one loss in particular left a permanent scar on Hollywood. Stay with us, because what happened to this beloved cast might surprise you. Pam Dawber was barely a known face in Hollywood when producer Gary Marshall chose her as Mindy McConnell. No formal audition, no industry connections, just gut instinct. That single decision would reshape American television, as Mindy Dawber accepted what might be comedy's most thankless assignment. She was the calm center of gravity for a show built entirely around Robin Williams's volcanic, unscripted explosions of brilliance. Every week, Williams would detonate. Every week, Pam held the scene together with timing, warmth, and quiet conviction. What audiences saw as effortless took extraordinary discipline. Off camera, their bond grew into one of Hollywood's most genuine and lasting friendships. When the series wrapped in 1982, she moved to CBS with the sitcom My Sister Sam, which ran from 1986 to 1988. That chapter ended in devastating fashion. Co-star Rebecca Schaeffer was murdered by an obsessed fan in July 1989, a loss that shattered Dawber publicly. She channeled that grief into advocacy, becoming a vocal and persistent supporter of gun control legislation for years afterward. By the early 1990s, she stepped away from acting entirely to raise her 2 sons with husband Mark Harmon. In 2014, she had reunited with Williams for the CBS comedy The Crazy Ones. Months later, he was gone. In 2021, she guest starred in a memorable episode of NCIS, Harmon's long-running show. In 2026, Pam Dawber is 74 years old, living a quiet, intentional life she has never once regretted choosing. While Pam Dawber was navigating Hollywood's highs and her family's most private sorrows, one of her season 2 co-stars was quietly building a career of surprising range and remarkable longevity. Long before she joined the cast of Mork and Mindy, Gina Hecht had already made up her mind. At the age of 10, watching her mother perform on stage, something locked into place. She would be an actress, no matter what it took. Born in Houston, Texas, and trained at the prestigious North Carolina School of the Arts, Hecht arrived in Hollywood with the discipline of someone who had worked for it. Her first real break came with a recurring role in the NBC sitcom His Owner in 1978. That same year, she was cast as Jean DaVinci, the sharp, warm-hearted sister of Remo DaVinci, joining the show at the start of season 2 in the fall of 1979. Jean was the more grounded of the 2 DaVinci siblings, quick, observant, and genuinely likable. Hecht brought a natural ease to the role that made her an audience favorite throughout seasons 2 and 3. After Mork and Mindy, her first film role came in Ron Howard's 1982 hit Night Shift alongside Michael Keaton and Henry Winkler. She appeared in St. Elmo's Fire in 1985 and had a recurring role on Seinfeld in the early 1990s. She played Mrs. Puckerman on Glee from 2009 to 2012, introducing her to an entirely new generation of viewers. In 2026, Gina Hecht is 72 years old, still married to writer-director Brian Herskowitz, and still working in an industry she chose as a 10-year-old child who never looked anywhere else. Gina Hecht's steady resolve stood in sharp contrast to the political scheming of Mindy's cousin Nelson Flavor, a character brought to life by a man who was, off-camera, operating in 2 careers at once. Jim Staahl came to Mork and Mindy not through an agent or a casting call, but through Robin Williams himself. The 2 had met through the improv scene at the Comedy Store in Hollywood, and when producers needed someone for the role of Nelson Flavor, Williams told them about his friend. Staahl was so nervous at the screen test that Williams bounded onto the set mid-taping just to improvise with him. Somehow, out of that beautiful chaos, he got the job. As Nelson Flavor, Mindy's stiff, politically ambitious cousin, Staahl played the perfect foil, rigid where Mork was free, calculating where Mindy was warm. He was a recurring presence throughout seasons 2 and 3. Stahl's true power, however, was always on the page as much as the screen. A founding member of Chicago's legendary Second City Theater, he went on to write for SCTV and variety shows, starring Steve Allen, Sid Caesar, Steve Martin, and Martin Short. He was co-head writer on shows headlined by John Candy, Howie Mandel, and Mike Myers. He received 2 Emmy Award nominations for writing on Bobby's World, the animated series he co-created with Mandel. As an actor, he later appeared as a series regular on Curb Your Enthusiasm. He has also appeared in films including Spies Like Us and Night Shift. In 2026, Jim Staahl is 79 years old, continuing to write, teach, and perform. He serves as an emeritus adjunct associate professor at USC's School of Cinematic Arts and as an instructor at the UCLA Writers Extension Program. Jim Staahl balanced 2 careers across 5 decades. The man who played Mindy's father, by contrast, had been quietly building something deeper, a life that stretched across jazz, art, and Hollywood in equal measure. Conrad Janis was not simply an actor, he was a jazz trombonist of genuine reputation, a man who had performed in New York clubs since the 1940s and who came from a family that operated one of the most respected art galleries in Manhattan. Hollywood was almost an afterthought until Mork and Mindy turned him into a household name. As Fred McConnell, Mindy's cautious, warm-hearted music store-owning father, Janis provided the show's moral compass. He was the voice of the ordinary world, protective, occasionally flustered, but ultimately accepting of the alien who landed in his daughter's attic. His scenes with Robin Williams were a study in expert comic counterbalance. After the show ended in 1982, Janis continued acting across 4 more decades, appearing in beloved shows including The Golden Girls, Diagnosis Murder, and Frasier. On film, he appeared in The Cable Guy in 1996 and multiple other productions. He also maintained his jazz band, performing regularly in Beverly Hills well into his 80s, living proof that the entertainment world is large enough for a man of many gifts. Conrad Janis passed away on March 1, 2022, at the age of 94 in Los Angeles. He left behind 2 children and 2 grandchildren. His death was quiet, dignified, and a long time coming, a life fully and beautifully lived. Conrad Janis brought decades of craft to every scene he played. Tom Poston, the actor who shared the show with him as the grumpy neighbor Mr. Bickley, brought something equally earned. A resume that stretched all the way back to Broadway and a comedic legacy that very few ever matched. Tom Poston had already been one of television's most recognizable comedic faces for 2 full decades before he ever walked onto the set of Mork and Mindy. Born in Columbus, Ohio, he had served as a bomber pilot in World War II, flown paratroop missions over Normandy, and then, with the war behind him, turned to acting with the same quiet determination he had brought to everything else. His breakout came on The Steve Allen Show in the late 1950s, where his recurring role as the man on the street who could never remember his own name won him the Emmy Award for Best Supporting Actor in a comedy series in 1959. It was a performance that defined an era of television comedy. On Mork and Mindy, his grumpy verse-writing greeting card author Mr. Bickley was the perfect curmudgeonly foil to Mork's boundless optimism. The character appeared across multiple seasons, and Poston's timing was impeccable in every scene. He received 3 Emmy nominations for his equally beloved role as George Utley on Newhart in 1984, 1986, and 1987. His television work spanned 5 remarkable decades, from The Bob Newhart Show to Murphy Brown, to that 70s show reportedly appearing in more sitcoms than any other actor in Hollywood history. Tom Poston passed away on April 30, 2007, at the age of 85, from respiratory failure in Los Angeles. His wife, actress Suzanne Plachette, followed him just 9 months later. Tom Poston's career was a monument to comedic longevity, but no performer who appeared on this show carried a more legendary reputation or a wilder, more beloved history than the comedy giant who joined in the show's 4th and final season. Jonathan Winters was not just another cast member on Mork and Mindy. He was the reason Robin Williams became a comedian. From childhood, Williams idolized Winters, his improvisational genius, his gallery of characters, his fearless absurdity. When producers needed someone to play Mearth, the adult baby son of Mork and Mindy born through the peculiar backward biology of orcans, there was only ever one name. Their scenes together were unlike anything American television had produced. 2 of history's great improvisational comedians, feeding each other energy in real time, laughing and sparring, and building something unrepeatable. For viewers in the early 1980s, it was a privilege to watch. Winters had been through his own storms long before those cameras rolled. He had suffered 2 documented nervous breakdowns, one in 1959 and another in 1961, and had battled depression throughout much of his life. He spoke about it openly, long before such conversations were common. His career remained extraordinary. He won the Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series in 1991 for his role on Davis Rules. He won a Grammy Award for his 1996 comedy album Crank Calls. In 1999, the Kennedy Center honored him with the prestigious Mark Twain Prize for American Humor. Jonathan Winters passed away peacefully at his home in Montecito, California, on April 11, 2013, at the age of 87. He had kept his mentor's hand extended for Robin Williams his entire life. Williams would outlive him by just 14 months. Jonathan Winters anchored the show's final season. Long before that, it was the quieter, warmer presence of Mindy's grandmother who had anchored the very beginning, a woman with one of the most extraordinary real-life stories in television history. Elizabeth Kerr's story is unlike any other in this cast. She was not a trained actress who spent decades waiting for her moment. She was a wife, a mother, a newspaper co-owner, a book reviewer, and a community theater founder who had pushed her dream aside for a lifetime. And then, in her 60s, decided she was done waiting. Born in Kansas City in 1912, Kerr attended Northwestern University and trained at the Pasadena Playhouse. She founded the Glendale Civic Theater in 1947 and launched the Resident Theater in North Hollywood in 1952. But television work didn't find her until she was already in her mid-60s. By the time Mork and Mindy cast her as Cora Hudson, Mindy's spirited, rock music-loving grandmother, she had already lived a full life that most people would have considered complete. Cora was the show's great surprise. Warm, sharp, occasionally outrageous, she embraced Mork when nobody else knew what to do with him. Kerr played her with a lightness and joy that seemed to come from someone who had earned the right to enjoy herself. She continued working after the show, appearing in Gimme a Break, The Facts of Life, Punky Brewster, and Mr. Belvedere, before her final screen role in the 1991 film, Frankie and Johnny. Elizabeth Kerr passed away on January 13, 2000, at the age of 87, in Long Beach, California, having done, by any measure, everything she set out to do. Elizabeth Kerr proved it is never too late to find your purpose. Robert Donner, the man who played the unforgettable Exidor, had spent his entire adult life pursuing Hollywood, and Mork and Mindy finally gave him the audience he deserved. Before Exidor, Robert Donner was a working character actor who knew his craft cold but had never quite broken through to the mainstream. He spent 4 years in the Navy after high school, settled in Los Angeles, and then spent the better part of 2 decades grinding through television and film with quiet persistence. He appeared alongside John Wayne in Rio Bravo, El Dorado, and Rio Lobo, a reliable presence in 3 films of an iconic Western trilogy. He played Yancey Tucker across multiple seasons of The Waltons. But it was Exidor, the robed, raving, prophet-of-nothing street preacher on Mork and Mindy, who finally gave Donner his moment. The character appeared in 24 episodes, spanning all 4 seasons. One of only a handful of recurring characters to appear across the entire run. Donner married producer and writer Jill Sherman in 1982, and largely stepped back from acting in the years that followed. He made occasional appearances through the 1980s and 1990s, but never sought the spotlight he had finally found. Robert Donner died of a heart attack on June 8, 2006, at his home in Sherman Oaks, California. He was 75 years old. More than 100 film and television credits followed him to the end, the record of a man who never gave up. Robert Donner built his career on quiet determination. Jay Thomas, the man who played Remo DaVinci, arrived in Hollywood with the same energy and won some of the biggest awards the industry had to offer before time ran out far too soon. Jay Thomas arrived in Hollywood via a route almost nobody else has traveled. Born in Kermit, Texas, and raised in New Orleans, he had been a top-rated radio DJ in New York before acting ever crossed his mind. He was the morning voice on 99X, spinning records and running his mouth for thousands of commuters. When someone offered him a television role, he took it. On Mork and Mindy, he played Remo DaVinci, the fast-talking, proudly New York owner of the neighborhood delicatessen. Remo was loud, confident, and enormous fun. Exactly what Jay Thomas was in real life. He appeared in seasons 2 and 3 alongside Gina Hecht as his on-screen sister, Jean. The real triumph came later. As tabloid talk show host Jerry Gold on Murphy Brown, Thomas was unstoppable. He won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Comedy Series in both 1990 and 1991. 2 consecutive years. The show's creator, Diane English, called him gifted in the days after his death. He also appeared memorably on Cheers as Carla's hockey player husband, Eddie LeBecq, starred in the sitcom Love and War from 1992 to 1995, and appeared in Mr. Holland's Opus and the second and third Santa Claus films. Jay Thomas died on August 24, 2017, in Santa Barbara, California, after a battle with throat cancer. He was 69 years old. Too young, far too young. Jay Thomas left behind an extraordinary body of work, but nothing in this cast story, nothing in any story from this era of television, carries the weight, the tragedy, and the lasting grief of what happened to the man who started it all. There are no adequate words. Robin Williams arrived at his audition for Mork and sat down, on his head. Producer Gary Marshall later said he was the only alien who auditioned. That moment tells you everything you need to know about what Robin Williams was, something that had never existed before and would never exist again. As Mork, he was incandescent. The role was structured around improvisation because no script could contain him. He was nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series in 1979 for the role. What followed on the big screen is among the most decorated careers in entertainment history. Good Morning Vietnam in 1987, Dead Poets Society in 1989, the Academy Award for Good Will Hunting in 1997, 2 Emmy Awards, 4 Golden Globe Awards, 5 Grammy Awards. Behind all of it, demons were growing that the public couldn't see. Struggles with addiction had marked his earlier years. Depression deepened in his final chapter. In early 2014, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. An autopsy later revealed the true cause of his suffering: diffuse Lewy body dementia, a devastating disease of the brain that had been stealing him slowly. Every name on this list gave something real to the world: laughter, warmth, and the kind of television that stays with you for the rest of your life. If this video moved you, leave a comment below and share it with someone who grew up with Mork and Mindy. And stay with us, because next we're going deep into another beloved cast whose stories are just as powerful, just as surprising, and just as unforgettable.